London, 1888. A chill hung in the air, heavier than the thick fog that clung to the cobblestone streets. Gaslights flickered, casting an eerie glow on the damp alleys of Whitechapel. This was a place where shadows danced, where fear was a constant companion. The heart of London, a city teeming with life, was also a breeding ground for darkness. Poverty and desperation clung to the unfortunates who called these streets home. It was here, in this labyrinth of despair, that a nightmare began. A nightmare that preyed on the vulnerable, extinguishing their lives with brutal efficiency. Each victim, another grim reminder that a predator stalked the night. The whispers started slowly, rippling through the crowded pubs and market squares. Jack the Ripper, the name uttered in hushed tones, sent shivers down the bravest of spines. No one knew who he was, this phantom who vanished into the fog as quickly as he appeared. But his gruesome calling card, the mutilated bodies of women, spoke volumes. Fear became a palpable presence, a suffocating blanket over Whitechapel. Mothers clutched their daughters closer. Men walked with wary eyes, their hands never far from a hidden blade. The police, overwhelmed and outmatched, grasped at straws. Every shadow seemed to hold a threat, every whisper a potential clue. But Jack the Ripper, a master of disguise and deception, remained elusive. Decades later, the terror of Jack the Ripper remained a haunting memory, a chilling tale whispered in hushed tones. The passage of time had done little to diminish the mystery surrounding the case. Years blurred into each other, and the city's fog seemed to linger in the annals of history. In a quiet corner of London, far removed from the bustling streets of Whitechapel, Dr. Jonathan Pierce, a retired history professor, found himself drawn into the attic of his late grandfather's home. Dust motes danced in the pale sunlight that filtered through a grimy window, illuminating a forgotten world. Jonathan had always been fascinated by his grandfather, Sir Edward Pierce, a renowned surgeon during the Victorian era. Sir Edward's life had been a tapestry woven with brilliance and compassion. He had dedicated his days to healing the sick and tending to the wounded. Among his grandfather's belongings, Jonathan discovered a treasure trove of memories, faded photographs, leather-bound journals, and a collection of antique surgical instruments. Each item held a story, a glimpse into a bygone era. As Jonathan sifted through the remnants of his grandfather's life, his fingers brushed against a yellowed envelope, tucked discreetly inside an old medical journal. The paper was brittle with age, the ink faded, yet the elegant script sent a shiver down his spine. The name on the envelope was unmistakable: Dr. William Gull. Dr. William Gull was a legend in the medical community, a man who had once held the prestigious position of physician to Queen Victoria. His contributions to medicine were renowned, his reputation unblemished. Jonathan carefully extracted the letter from its resting place and began to read. The words, penned in a steady hand, were startling in their clarity, their content chilling to the core. Dr. Gull's letter was a confession, a detailed account of the murders that had terrorized Whitechapel. Jonathan's breath caught in his throat as he absorbed the weight of Dr. Gull's words. The letter described in horrifying detail the brutal murders of several women, their lives extinguished in a whirlwind of violence. The details were too precise, too intimate to be the work of an outsider. Jonathan struggled to reconcile the image of the respected physician with the monster revealed in the letter. Could this esteemed doctor, a man sworn to heal and protect, truly be the author of such unspeakable acts? As Jonathan delved deeper into the letter, he discovered a chilling motive behind the murders. Dr. Gull believed he was on a divine mission, chosen by God to cleanse the streets of London. He saw himself as an instrument of righteousness, delivering swift and brutal justice to those he deemed unworthy. Jonathan's mind raced as he grappled with the implications of his discovery. His grandfather, a man of unwavering integrity, had known the true identity of Jack the Ripper. Had Sir Edward chosen to protect his friend, shielding a monster from justice? The weight of this revelation was almost unbearable. Jonathan felt a sense of duty, an obligation to bring the truth to light. The victims deserved justice, their stories told. Driven by a thirst for answers and a need to right a historical wrong, Jonathan embarked on a quest to uncover the truth behind his grandfather's silence and the chilling confession that lay before him. The fog of time had concealed a dark secret, and Jonathan was determined to see it lifted. Jonathan held the letter, his fingers tracing the faded ink. It was a tangible link to the past, a key to unlocking a century-old mystery. But doubt, like a persistent shadow, lingered in his mind. Could this confession be genuine, or was it a cruel hoax, a figment of a disturbed mind? Determined to uncover the truth, Jonathan sought the expertise of renowned handwriting analysts. The experts, armed with magnifying glasses and years of experience, meticulously compared the letter to authenticated samples of Dr. Gull's handwriting. Days turned into weeks as they painstakingly examined every stroke, every curve, every subtle nuance of the penmanship. Finally, the verdict arrived. The handwriting in the letter was a perfect match to that of Dr. William Gull. The experts were confident in their assessment. The confession was authentic. Relief, tinged with a chilling certainty, washed over Jonathan. He held in his hands a confession from one of history's most notorious killers. Jonathan delved into the life and career of Dr. William Gull. He scoured medical journals, historical records, and personal accounts, piecing together a portrait of the man behind the mask of respectability. Gull, it seemed, had been a man of contradictions. Brilliant and ambitious, Gull had risen through the ranks of the medical profession, earning accolades for his intellect and skill. He was a pioneer in his field, a respected lecturer, and a sought-after physician. His patients, both wealthy and impoverished, regarded him with a mixture of awe and gratitude. Yet beneath the veneer of success there were hints of darkness. Colleagues whispered of Gull's eccentricities, his aloof demeanor, and his unwavering belief in his own superiority. Some even spoke of a certain ruthlessness, a coldness that belied his professional demeanor. Jonathan discovered a pivotal moment in Dr. Gull's life, a debilitating stroke that had left him partially paralyzed and grappling with bouts of confusion and memory loss. The stroke, it seemed, had not only ravaged his physical health, but had also fractured his mind, unleashing a darkness that lay dormant within. Jonathan found entries in Gull's personal diaries that hinted at his deteriorating mental state. The writing, once precise and elegant, had become erratic, filled with paranoid delusions and grandiose pronouncements. Gull believed that he was chosen by God, tasked with purifying London of its sins. The stroke, it seemed, had shattered the barriers of Gull's sanity, transforming him from a respected physician into a delusional zealot, convinced of his own righteousness and driven by a thirst for blood. Jonathan continued his investigation, poring over his grandfather's journals, searching for any mention of Dr. Gull. He discovered cryptic entries, veiled references to Gull's troubles and the darkness he carried. Sir Edward, bound by his oath of confidentiality, had chosen to protect his friend, even as suspicion gnawed at his conscience. One entry, dated shortly after the final Ripper murder, sent shivers down Jonathan's spine. Sir Edward wrote of a late-night visit from a distraught and disheveled Dr. Gull. Gull had confessed to the murders, claiming he was liberating souls from their earthly prisons. Sir Edward, torn between his loyalty to his friend and his duty to justice, had chosen silence. He had hoped to protect Gull from himself, to shield the medical community from scandal. But in doing so, he had condemned the victims to an anonymous grave and allowed a monster to escape justice. Jonathan paced the attic, his mind awhirl with what he had uncovered. The confession, the journals, the whispers of madness, they all pointed to Dr. Gull's guilt. But Jonathan yearned for tangible proof, something concrete to link the respected physician to the grisly murders in Whitechapel. His gaze fell upon a sturdy wooden chest, tucked away in a dimly lit corner of the attic. It was locked, its brass hinges tarnished with age. Jonathan's heart pounded in his chest as he searched for the key, his fingers trembling with anticipation. After what felt like an eternity, he found it. A small, ornate key resting in a dusty box of his grandfather's belongings. With bated breath, he inserted the key into the lock and turned. The chest creaked open, revealing its long-held secrets. Inside, nestled amongst velvet-lined compartments, lay a collection of surgical instruments. Jonathan recognized them instantly from his grandfather's medical texts. Scalpels, forceps, bone saws, tools of healing, now chillingly reminiscent of the Ripper's gruesome work. Jonathan carefully lifted each instrument, his gloved fingers tracing their cold, metallic surfaces. Some were pristine, their edges gleaming under the attic's dim light. Others, however, bore the unmistakable stains of time and use, dark, rust-tinged marks that sent a shiver down Jonathan's spine. His heart pounded in his chest as a horrifying realization dawned on him. Could these stains be blood, the blood of the Ripper's victims? Jonathan knew he had to find out. He carefully collected the instruments, his movements precise and measured, as if handling fragile relics from a forgotten time. He contacted a trusted friend, a forensic scientist renowned for her expertise in cold cases. The evidence was meticulously examined, subjected to a battery of tests that could unlock the secrets held within those bloodstains. Days turned into agonizing weeks as Jonathan awaited the results, his mind consumed by the potential ramifications of his discovery. The news came like a bolt from the blue. The blood on the instruments matched the DNA profiles extracted from the Ripper's victims. The evidence was irrefutable, the link undeniable. Dr. William Gull, the Queen's physician, had indeed wielded the tools of death in the shadows of Whitechapel. Jonathan wrestled with the enormity of his discovery. He knew he couldn't keep this information buried in the attic any longer. The victims, their lives brutally cut short, deserved justice, even if it came a century late. The world needed to know the truth. He reached out to Emma Collins, a fearless journalist known for her investigative prowess and her unwavering commitment to uncovering the truth. Emma, intrigued by Jonathan's claims and the weight of evidence he presented, agreed to help him bring the story to light. The news, when it broke, sent shockwaves through society. Headlines screamed from every newspaper, the name Jack the Ripper once again on the lips of every Londoner. The public, captivated by the century-old mystery, devoured every detail of Jonathan's findings, the confession, the evidence, the betrayal. Emma Collins's articles, meticulously researched and powerfully written, painted a chilling portrait of a respected physician transformed into a monster, hiding in plain sight. She detailed Gull's descent into madness, his twisted motives, his cold-blooded actions. The world reacted with a mixture of horror and disbelief. How could a man entrusted with the care of the Queen, a pillar of society, be capable of such barbarity? The medical community, once proud of Gull's accomplishments, now grappled with the dark legacy of one of their own. Debates raged in academic circles, historians and criminologists dissecting every aspect of the case. Some refused to believe Gull's guilt, clinging to alternative theories, unable to reconcile the doctor they thought they knew with the monster he had become. Others, however, acknowledged the overwhelming evidence, accepting the chilling truth that had remained hidden for so long. The revelation of Jack the Ripper's identity cast a long shadow over Victorian society, shattering illusions of order and exposing the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. The case served as a stark reminder that even those who seem beyond suspicion, those who hold positions of power and respect, are capable of unspeakable acts. The world finally knew Jack the Ripper's name. Dr. William Gull, the Queen's physician, the respected scholar, the seemingly devoted healer, was unmasked as the monster who had haunted the cobblestone streets of Whitechapel. The fog of time had lifted, revealing a truth both horrifying and heartbreaking. Yet, amidst the shock and the outrage, there was a sense of closure, a measure of justice for the silenced victims. These women, their lives tragically cut short, were no longer nameless faces in faded photographs. They were Marianne Nichols, Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly, each with a story, a family, hopes and dreams extinguished in a whirlwind of violence. Jonathan Pierce, through his relentless pursuit of truth, had given them back their voices. He had ensured that their names, once whispered in fear, would forever be etched in the annals of history, a stark reminder of the human cost of unchecked darkness. The revelation of Dr. Gull's crimes sparked a wave of introspection, forcing society to confront the uncomfortable reality that monsters don't always lurk in the shadows. Sometimes they hide in plain sight, their true natures concealed behind masks of respectability and normalcy. The image of Dr. William Gull, once a symbol of medical authority and intellectual prowess, became forever intertwined with the chilling brutality of his crimes. The duality of his nature, the healer who harbored a heart of darkness, sent ripples of unease through the medical community and beyond. Gull's story became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that the human psyche is a labyrinth of complexities, capable of harboring both great compassion and unspeakable cruelty. It served as a chilling testament to the fragility of the human mind, the devastating consequences when brilliance and madness collide. The revelation of Gull's crimes also cast a long shadow over the medical profession, shaking public trust in those sworn to heal and protect. It forced a reassessment of the systems in place, the safeguards designed to identify and address mental health issues within the ranks of those entrusted with the well-being of others. The story of Jack the Ripper, once shrouded in mystery, became a stark reminder that even in the face of overwhelming evidence, some questions may never be fully answered. Why did Dr. Gull, a man who had achieved the pinnacle of his profession, choose the path of a monster? What demons drove him to commit such heinous acts? Perhaps in the depths of Gull's madness there existed a twisted logic, a perverse sense of purpose that eluded the grasp of rational thought. Or perhaps, the answer lay buried deep within the recesses of his mind, forever lost to the ravages of time and the deterioration of his sanity. Despite the passage of over a century, the shadow of Jack the Ripper continued to loom large, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most civilized societies. The fog may have lifted, the truth revealed, but the story of Dr. William Gull served as a haunting reminder that some mysteries, like wounds on the soul of a city, never truly heal.